welcome back to HAPA Talkbacks. Today we have a really amazing guest, Samuelson from Stewart Talent, who is an amazing talent agent here in Chicago, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. Just a quick reminder for my students who are watching, drop a question in the comments here, or maybe they're over here, for that extra credit today, and thank you so much for coming. So Sam, welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is really cool. I love that intro. It was really cool.
Oh, yeah. Just some really awesome little pictures of the students. It's fun, right?
Yeah, totally. I want to go to the school now. Yeah.
Oh, please. By all means, come join us at any time. So, Sam, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm a talent agent, and so what that means is I have many different jobs. I procure talent, so that means I find talent in many different ways, from seeing them in theater shows, seeing them submissions that might come into the agency. So one job is to get talent. The other is to get talent jobs. So that happens in so many different ways, but typically an agent will subscribes to these different portals where a job breakdown will come out, and then we see all the different characters that they're looking for, and then we click the little boxes and submit the talent that we currently represent that are right for those roles. I also negotiate the contracts once a talent gets a job. And I also help talent with their lives. Just, it might not have anything to do with the business. It has a lot to do with, their personal lives. This is a very personal art form, being an actor, because you're bringing yourself to your work. So, we are often life coaches to help people make decisions and help people get through emotional things, whatever, so you can have a successful career.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to hear about all of the different angles from which you have to approach both finding actors' work and dealing with actors. You never really think about both sides of it.
Yeah, and that's actually what makes it fun. Every day is totally different. There's a challenge. There's something that every single day of my life as an agent, I come across something that I've never dealt with, and I've been doing it for 20 years. So it's always fresh, and the people are cool. You represent people that you like. So it's a really cool job. I love it.
That's awesome. How did you find your way to becoming an agent?
Well, I was an actor first. So, I was a kid actor in Chicago, and then I went to school at University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, where I got a BFA in musical theater. And then had a whole career in Chicago and also in New York. I've been on Broadway, done national tours, a lot of regional theater, a lot of commercials, a lot of voiceover, had representation in Los Angeles and New York and Chicago. But then we had a baby, and we did not want to raise her in New York. We wanted to be around family. So we moved back to Chicago. I continued to act for a little bit, but I knew that I wanted to be stable. I wanted to somehow be at home as much as possible. So I looked for a job on the other side of the table, and happened to get offered a job at Stewart Talent. I've been there ever since.
That's super awesome. And I don't know if a lot of actors get the experience of being on both ends of things at different times in their career. What has that been like for you?
I think, I've been able to utilize my experience and my contacts from when I was an actor to hopefully help the actors that I currently represent. But I think the most important thing is that hopefully I still remember what it feels like to be an actor, and I can help people in that way. So I don't necessarily see myself as a talent agent. I don't see myself as an actor. I see myself as something sort of in between. And it's my job to continue to remember what it feels like to be an actor, because it's a very, very difficult life. And we must have empathy for those that we represent, because it's hard to make a living doing this. So hopefully that's the value that I bring to it, is that I did it and I can still remember what it feels like.
Yeah, I bet that makes the talent that you represent feel very safe with you. And
hopefully. Right. Right.
So when you go about finding your talent, what does that look like? What does the process look like?
Well, I mean, so, the submission process, that's a part of it. So how do you get an agent? So you can get an agent, kind of like I was saying before, by every talent agency on their website has a submission protocol of how you should submit your materials. We then review it and decide if we think that we could use somebody that's in your zone. So that's part of it. The other way of obtaining talent is by seeing them in plays, or seeing them in a movie, or seeing them in a commercial, or even, I could meet somebody because my mom, was having lunch at a place and there was a waiter who's an actor, and my mother's like, my son's an agent, that kind of thing. So we can meet actors in so many different ways. And we're usually looking for an actor that's authentic. And what I mean by that is somebody that's very comfortable with just who they are as a person. So when we interview somebody, we actually sit down and talk to you. And then, what's that sound?
Right, it was a text message coming through on my computer.
Or the meatloaf is done. Yeah. But we'll sit down and meet with you and ask you everything that has nothing to do with your career, more about getting to know who you are as a person. And then we bring you into a taping room to audition you, and we have you do a monologue. We have you do commercial copy. And if you sing, we'll have you sing, 2 contrasting 16-bar cuttings, a cappella. And then all of the agents in the agency sit down and they watch that tape. If I'm the person that met with you, I then give the background about who you are. But what we're looking for is really a seamless thing between who you are as a person and your work that we're watching. The closer it is to it being you, the more honest it is, and the more you're going to connect in your auditions, and the more you'll probably land a role.
Totally. If there's a disconnect, it's visible, even, in a high school auditorium between
100%.
your acting.
It all comes from the same core, whether you're on stage or you're in front of a camera that can see everything. There has to be an element of truth and of yourself, being as much yourself as possible, even in a heightened style. It starts from an element of truth. It just expands from that.
I love that. Now, Sam, I'm curious. So you have instructions of how to submit to your agency on your website. If somebody doesn't follow those instructions exactly, what happens to those people?
Well, I think it depends on the agency that you're submitting to. But usually, because there are so many submissions every single day, that we disregard it. There are a lot of people in this world that want to be actors. And I'm sure every talent agency that's in Chicago and Atlanta and New York and Los Angeles, everywhere, they get the same amount of submissions. So if you're not following a protocol of whatever the talent agency is asking for your submission, it means that possibly if we were to represent you, that you won't be following certain protocols that we ask of you prior to sending you out in an audition. We need to trust you. It's all about building a relationship. And that, to me, is the first fundamental of the relationship is, here are some instructions. It's not that difficult to follow. Follow them, and then let's get through this process.
That's awesome. And I'm just going to double down on that for my students here, is that if you're not able to follow those instructions off the bat, that tells somebody something about you.
Right.
And how you're going to behave as someone who you're representing each other at that point.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. We're going to go ahead and bring up one of the live questions. I think our backstage guru, Melissa, is going to bring one up on screen here in just a second. So Isabel, one of my, she's a junior acting major, asked,
Hi, Isabel.
How many actors do you represent? And is there a limit on how many you can represent?
That's a really good question. Well, I'd like to back up because I can't give you an exact number, but Stewart Talent Chicago, we have many different departments. We've got a voiceover department, we have a print department, we have film, TV, theater, commercials, and industrials. And so I would say, with Chicago, we probably represent roughly, 500 actors. There's not a limit, but you have to be careful about, how many people you actually do represent, because you don't want to have so many people that you don't know who you represent. So we keep it in a frame where we know that we can actually get people auditions. If there are, thousands of people on your roster, you can't specifically market people. You need to be careful about, as an agent, representing too many people so you can focus on those that you currently represent.
Yeah, it seems like you also might sacrifice some of that relationship
Yeah.
that you have.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that is the fundamental of an actor-agent relationship, is there's trust, and it is about knowing, who you represent. Otherwise, it's no fun. Why do it? You're wanting to help people as an agent. If you're a good agent, you're the kind of person that wants to help other people,
Absolutely.
If you don't know who you represent, that's gets thrown out the door.
Yeah. So I'm seeing another question here on the side from Marta Frank, Melissa, if you're back there, which is, what makes a good resume? And I'm sure you see a million trillion resumes all the time. So
Yeah.
Is there something that makes a resume stand out to you?
Yes. There's a business format resume, and then there is an actor, sort of resume. Oftentimes with new people, we get a business format, like their parents help them put it together, and it's not linear, it's not correct. We're used to viewing things in one certain way. So a little trick is, before submitting to an agency, all the Chicago agencies are actually online. You can actually see the people that they represent and the resumes of those people. My advice would be, prior to submitting to a talent agency, go on their website, look at how the resume is formatted, and follow suit. Oftentimes people try to make their resume really pop and try to make it really extra with, really pretty font and making it really different looking. That, to me, shows a high maintenance resume that you're trying too hard. Just follow the instructions, have a low maintenance resume. If you have special skills, put those in, but you don't need to go crazy. The point is you're looking for representation. Keep it low maintenance. Follow what the website looks like for each place you're submitting to, and that's the little inside trick.
That's a really great piece of advice, and I'm sure that all of them who were taking a look at Stewart Talent Agency's website earlier in the week noticed that all of those resumes are in a very specific format.
They are, yeah. But they're and they look very close to other talent agencies' resumes too, but there might be difference in categories of how they like to see things. So yeah, you can tweak it a little bit to each agency you're sending to make sure it's in the format that they see every day of their lives.
Absolutely. So we had a question that popped up from Echo, who posted as HAPA. That's funny. But I really caught onto the second half of this question as, is it imperative to have an agent in order to be successful in the industry?
No, and no. You can, in Chicago, have a very successful theater career without having an agent. We are only team members. We're not the key to your fame and to your success. So the answer is no. And if you don't get an agent, that's fine. We are helpful. We're more helpful with film and television opportunities. So you can have a successful theater career without having an agent. For film and TV, though, it is more difficult, and we are very helpful in that realm. But you can submit directly to casting directors, the people that cast the film and television projects. And in Chicago specifically, they'll actually look at those submissions of new people. So if an agency is not responding to you, you can also submit directly to casting directors.
That's really interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we have one popping up from Lilia Wolf, who asked, how is the process for getting cast in a film and TV show different from theater?
It's actually really not that different at all. If the basis of dance is ballet, and then you might be a modern dancer, but you probably have your background, at least you've taken some ballet class. Same with acting. Acting, the basis is theater, and then it moves into larger styles or smaller styles, with film and television. So it's one and the same. And like I had said before, it's all about authenticity. And it's all about starting, with that honest place that you can at least bring in a small box, like we are right now, and then expand it for going on stage. So it's actually very similar. It's not that different.
I think that's probably hopeful for a lot of them to hear who are interested. A lot of them have this theater experience, but are interested in the film and TV world. Scott Sawinski, who connected us, mentioned here in the comments, so auditions used to all be done in person, and now things are self-taped. How has the use of technology changed?
It's huge. Like a lot of our auditions pre-pandemic were done, via self-tape. So people were literally sending their first auditions in for any project, whether that was a theater project or a film, TV project, sending a lot of those in via self-tape. So it's becoming more prevalent, obviously, during the pandemic. There's not a lot to work on, but everything is self-tape right now. And it is my hunch that a lot of that will continue post-pandemic, that we will see everyone needing a good home setup for taping, and that the majority, 90% of the auditions will be via this little box that we're in, and maybe callbacks will be, via FaceTime or Zoom or Skype or whatever. And there'll be less contact, less in-room contact to avoid the COVID concerns.
Totally. And just in general, so now that we're talking about self-tapes, Miss Broussard in the comments or in the private chat here dropped, what makes a good self-tape? Because I'm sure we're all used to seeing, this person and this person. So see, I'm obviously saying what I would like to see for my students, but what do you love in a really excellent self-tape?
Well, I mean, you control all the things that you can control. So the lighting is really important. Make sure that, you have front lighting. Natural light always works better if you can. And if you don't have that, have a ring light. So the lighting, the sound, make sure that that you can hear real well. But the real key with sound is if you have a reader, and typically you will, so you're doing lines with somebody else, that the actor, the one that's on camera, is actually a little more present than the person reading, the other role off camera. That's really important too. But it's all about lighting and sound. And then with performance, it's all about being completely off book. So you are competing with many people that have had many, they're sending in, their seventh take, making sure that it's perfect. You have to make sure that you're off book and as prepared as you can possibly be to compete, because it's really competitive. Another little trick, and it's, there could be a whole class on just this, is making sure that your reader is just off camera, but not like all the way there. You don't want to upstage yourself. You want to make sure that you're just off camera, not looking directly into the camera, but just off, just like you would potentially see in a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, even just now when you turned over here and the way your sound changed was huge.
100%.
Impactful, where you're.
Well, yeah, and you see that on stage too. It's like you're upstaging yourself if you're talking like this. It's like, well, the audience is here, so how do you cheat out?
Yes. Yeah. So for that self-tape, your audience is the camera, and you got to treat it like such.
That's right. Yep.
So what advice would you give? So we have plenty of seniors here in the chats that I'm noticing. So 18-year-olds, but we also have anywhere from 14 to 18-year-olds. What advice do you give them if they're interested in having an agent or being represented somehow?
Well, boy, what I'd like to go back to, you don't have to have an agent to be successful. I just want you to know that right now. But if you do want to get an agent, follow the submission protocols, and don't put all of your eggs into one submission to one agent. Submit to multiple agencies. There are many, many great talent agencies, specifically in Chicago, that are all at different points. Like Stewart Talent's been around for 40 years, so we probably have what would be considered a developed list. And maybe it might be easier with a smaller talent agency to get in, but it might not. I mean, you never know. But submit to multiple talent agencies, and also realize that you don't have to have an agent. It has nothing to do with your talent. We are not the be all end all for your success in life. But one fundamental that I really want to say to everyone out there listening, that a good actor is somebody that is a good person, that's a whole person. A good actor is somebody that has other interests other than just, film, TV, and theater. That's it. That's all I have in my life. Because you're going to be playing roles that are people. You're not going to be playing the role of an actor. So the more, oftentimes actors can develop most when they're not specifically working on their craft, but when they might be doing something else that helps to round them out as a person, whether that's chess or soccer or friends that aren't necessarily in theater. It's all very important to stay balanced, because the point is, in your life as an actor, if you do this professionally, you can't put your value of who you are as a person in what you do, because you get shot down 99% of the time. So being a well-rounded person means that your value is diversified in so many different areas that you can then get through those difficult times to win the role.
That is so important. It's so important to have other and develop other parts of yourself as an actor. I mean,
you have to.
I hope they were all listening.
Well, I hope so too.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Okay, I have an interesting question here on the side from Inali Rogers, which I think what this boils down to is, if you have someone who submits something and there's potential, but they're not perfect, are you, as an agent, going to take the chance?
I have to say, at the age range that I'm talking to right now, I can't imagine that anybody's perfect. And how are we supposed to tell if somebody's perfect from a picture and a resume? So the point is, sure, yeah. I mean, and what most people think is something that they don't like about themselves is actually what makes them different than other people and marketable. So the answer to the question is, of course. I mean, nobody's fully developed, and people are going to have areas that they can work on, and that's our job to help develop people.
That's really awesome. All right. Well, I think, is there anything else that you'd like to say to these young actors out here? I mean, about, acting or just being a human.
Well, I think I covered the human part, and I could probably go on for years about, the acting side of it and little tricks and whatever. But what I'd said before, I think, is really the fundamental, most important thing about being a diversified whole human being. That really, to me, from having been an actor to now being an agent, is the fundamental to being a successful person to then be a successful agent or actor, is by just knowing that you are more than enough just by being you. The more you trust yourself, the more it's going to be authentic and honest, and your work is going to be good. That would be it. I mean, that to me is the message that I would love to just send out to the world, and make sure that that is the key to a successful life, which then would be a successful career.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much, Sam. Let's see, I've got one more thing jumping in here. We're going to do one more question from Echo, which is...
By the way, Echo, that's such a cool name.
Yes, it is. She's got an awesome name. But she asked, how can an actor make a good impression during an audition?
By being prepared, by controlling everything you can control. Show up early, know your lines, be low maintenance. You're not trying to stick out. You're trying to do the best job with your copy. People can tell when people are pushing and trying to be something that they think other people want them to be. Just know that you're more than enough. Go in, do your job, be prepared, and then leave. But sticking out is not the key. That looks the high maintenance, like, oh, okay, that person doesn't get it. It's really about just going in, you're under the radar, you do your job, you're pleasant, and you leave, and you have no expectations after that audition.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna double back to timeliness. just because that is something I've run into as an issue with our students. How important is timeliness?
It is the essence of a successful career. If you are late to a meeting with me, it's just such a waste of time. I don't have the time. It's disrespectful to the people that you are meeting. In fact, I don't have any pet peeves other than that. And you would talk to a zillion other agents and casting directors, people that are late. If I send you to an audition and you're late, the casting director calls me and yells at me, "Where's your actor?" If that happens more than a couple of times, that people that we're sending out on auditions are late, we will drop you. Not trying to be severe or harsh, but I can't work with people that can't at least be on time. In fact, you need to be early. Be the one that cares, not the one that, whatever. It's about being early.
Seriously.
And that is a fundamental. Absolutely. You want to get early to the audition so you can feel the room, so that you know that you're going to be ready and centered and ready for your audition, so you can feel what it's like to be in the. If you're late and they happen to still see you, you come in all frazzled, you're not centered, you're not prepared, you can't feel all the surroundings before you. It's foolish. So somebody late, done. I would never want to meet somebody that's late.
Important to hear.
Very important.
Hear it too. Even 1 minute is late.
Oh,
and they think I'm nutty sometimes, but it's
to me, 5 minutes early is late.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome, Sam. Thank you so much. I think we're going to end right there with the most important thing.
Yeah.
Timeliness, and humanity.
Yep.
Well-rounded person.
All of it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everybody who joined us today. I loved it.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.